I have is final hydraulics. The typical process that we have now is we wait till the end of preliminary plans and we submit final hydraulics. There's information in the preliminary plans that hydraulics may not be interested in, but we can get those information that they need earlier and not wait till the end of preliminary plans and get that out. And there's other entities that we can do outside the agency. If we know we're going to involve utilities, let's have those conversations with utilities early on, with Federal Highway and with A&R. If you know you have that stream alteration consultation, and you know your preliminary plans isn't scheduled until February, have that consultation in the fall when the weather's better, and get that done earlier in the process. Identify activities in the schedule that can be worked on at the same time. Just getting concurrent activities. I'll go back to the hydraulics example. If you work on those, get that information to those who need it ahead of time. Hydraulics will be working on that, but then there's other things in preliminary plans that we work on that can be done concurrently. So just recognizing those things that you're working on in your schedule and see if those two activities can occur concurrently. Exercise flexibility to reach new heights. This is what we're all trying to get for you folks, really, and Jen mentioned it earlier about getting you folks to look at ways that you can be exercise flexibility in the activities that you do. Example, we've had NEPA documents completed with one layout sheet. I know there's activities in right-of-way that you can do before the NEPA process is complete. And I just had, we've had a couple of ER projects that's gone through where we submitted pre-contract plans and final plans at the same time. So there's again, it goes back to the concurrent, getting processes in our activities to happen concurrently to help speed along the process. So this is really about getting you folks to be flexible in the standard way, and kind of repeating what Wayne said earlier about looking at your activities and seeing what you can do to be flexible with the rules, and help us along with accelerating projects. Turn it over to Chris.
Hi everybody, my name is Chris Williams. Most of you know me, and I'm real happy to be here talking with you all. It's great to see such a great turnout too. I'm going to talk about the Project Initiation and Innovation Team, also known as the PIT. So when we organized for the Accelerated Bridge Program in January 2012, we took that opportunity to also create the PIT. It's really a scoping unit. And so we are responsible for developing scoping reports with a recommended course of action. The idea is that all projects that come into the bridge section will all go through the PIT before they get sent off. And we anticipate about 25 to 30 projects per year. That's what we're thinking will be about a steady state coming in and going out. We're going to be involved through the project definition phase, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. And then when we're done defining the project, we're going to hand it off to the design project manager, who will carry it through the project design phase. Before the PIT, there was some problems with the way we did things. We knew that there was some room for efficiencies. What would happen is we'd get a slug of projects and we'd distribute them to all the different project managers. At that point, we're all competitive people, especially Kristen and I, and we'd start competing for those resources, trying to get it in the schedule, and all the project managers would be competing for moving their projects ahead. And this made it really difficult for the resource groups all the way along the line. They get all these requests at the same time from different people, didn't know how to prioritize them, made it really difficult for those folks. The other part of it was each project manager has a different tolerance for how much risk they want to take. It's sometimes a little bit of a struggle bringing innovative things through, and some people like that struggle and others would rather just move ahead. And so what that created is different inconsistent approaches to projects. In the PIT here, we're looking at it with, the idea is we have a consistent way of looking at projects, we know the technology and the tools available, so it's a much more consistent approach to our scoping process now. We have a few focus areas. We have a lot, don't have much time, so I'm only going to go over these. First is, we've talked about it before, early coordination with stakeholders. Okay, the idea of the old days where a set of plans would be plopped on your desk and they'd say, do this, they're gone. Right now, you're all going to be involved day one. We're going to get you early on in the process. And we've had some really good success in getting stakeholders involved early. We want to streamline the process as much as possible. Concurrent activities. I'm going to shout out to the environmental section, who's really done a fantastic job with that right now. They have figured out how to identify their resources before they get surveyed. So we can take our linear process and make that a concurrent process. Right there is one area that we don't have to wait for. Okay, so that's just one of many examples of where we're working on concurrent activities. Improve file sharing, okay? So in the old days, we had our own G drive or J drive or X drive or whatever it is. Nobody could see our files. And then when we wanted to, we'd share them with somebody else. We'd send them to another group and we'd say, there you go. Well, nowadays, we have a Z drive. That's shared among everybody. Everybody can view it, but we've got permissions set up. And so each section has write privileges, but can only read everybody else's. This is a tremendous time saving, and it really sets up collaboration between sections. We can see what other people are doing. They can see what we're doing. So it's really setting us up to be a much more collaborative environment. It seems that each section wants to have their own special way of making requests now. We started with the NERD, the new environmental something database. We've got hydraulics with a different way of using the NERD. We've got traffic has their own way. Materials has their own way. They're all asking for the same information, but you got to do it several times to get that information out. Well, we're looking to streamline that, find a more efficient way, and one of the ways is this request for information. Essentially, we're trying to move technology forward by saying, I select a project, and then I click all the things I need. I need traffic, I need environmental, I need hydraulics, I need all these things. So you can just select the project and click it and move forward. Performance measures, that sets me up for the next one. The idea here is that we have to start being more accountable for what we do, and that's really the next part of the slide here. Before we start talking about accountability and measure anything, we have to make sure we have a common way of talking about things and set some really common fundamental milestones. I threw this slide up there, and this shows the 4 milestones. We have project funded, project defined, pre-contract plans, and then contract award. And I will say that there's the end of construction at the end of that. But the idea is these are the major milestones, and we've got these phases in between them. There's project definition phase. That's where my scoping group will be involved. Project design, that'll be the design project manager. And then we'll have procurement, and then we'll have construction. So it's important that we start using these consistently so that we can measure fairly and equally. And we're not there yet, but it's a starting point. So we need consistent mile points in order to measure. We're going to add new data fields. The old days of having a spreadsheet with a list of projects that are in the Accelerated Bridge Program, they're gone. Nowadays, we have a field that we've created, Screen 36 and PPMS, where we can say Accelerated Program, Bridge Program, yes or no. And so we're creating these new data fields as needed so that we can use them and provide that information in a much more efficient way. We've got to get the baseline data. We start by not saying, we want to meet this. I mean, we started by saying we want to meet have some expectations, but really it's about capturing where we are now. If you don't know where we are now, you don't know where you got to go to. And track changes over time. Delta T for those engineers out there, right? We want to report quarterly or monthly, and then we want to see what the change is. Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? How are we doing? So we have to start that way, and then the most fundamental, basic, important thing here is we have to see how we're doing and then revise it and change it when necessary. That's a really important part. It's really hard to talk about performance measures in 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever they've given me. But I'm going to try. This is a screenshot of a query that I did on the bridges in the Accelerated Bridge Program. There's 26 of them, 12 are Irene projects, 14 normal, and there's 2 town highway projects and 22. So we have all this data, it's all in a database somewhere. Everybody here can query on it and get this information just like I did here. There's some other measures that we're looking at. What % of all projects in the Accelerated Bridge Program? So of the 42 projects that were funded in 2011, 15 of them, or about 36%, are in the Accelerated Bridge Program. That's pretty good. That's above where we really wanted to be. 2012, we're down to about 15%, and I'll note that it's because we haven't finished the project definition phase yet. There will be more, and we're expecting somewhere in the 30s for that as well. And the duration of project definition phase, so that is my group moving from funded to project defined. Again, we've got to break it down by years, and 14 projects in 2011. They range from 9 to 463. Here's my point here. Because we didn't have a consistent way of doing this, everybody was defining the project differently. And so we have this really, really wide variation because nobody was that concerned about making these consistent like we are now. You can see in 2012, there's only a couple of them, but it's really improved. Getting through that process of the ones that were funded in 2012, we got through it in, I think that's somewhere around 6 months or so. Okay? So it's giving us some data. We know that some of the data now is pretty bad stuff. I took out the negative durations, I will add, when we went through it in negative time. And the last one here I've got is the duration of project design phase. Only 3 of them have been done. And that is from the project was defined, and they went all the way through to pre-contract plan submittal, so into the procurement phase. And those 3 projects average about 116 to 145 days. Those are calendar days. So this is just a few quick examples of some performance measures, and there's lots more. So some of the questions, where are we spending our money? Don't you think it would be nice to know where we're spending it? By section, by activity, even by person. We want to get there where we can drill down, find out where we're spending that money. Where are we spending the time? Are there durations and activities that are just really, really long? And then you've got to start questioning, why is it taking so long? Let's look at that and let's address it if it keeps on happening. Where are they located geographically? We've got some maps, and so we're putting different projects around geographically so we can see where the work is being concentrated. And then we also want to start looking at construction duration, how long it's taking, and then mobility impacts. They're more and more and more important as we move forward. Mobility impacts, how are we affecting the traffic, okay? Every day that we're out there and we're interfering with the traffic flow, that's a mobility impact. It's hard to quantify it, but it's real important to the public, and they're our customer, I believe. And now I'm going to turn it over to Wayne Simmons, and he's going to wrap it all up.
All right, and I'm going to wrap it up really quick, just with some sort of summary and some key points. We started off this presentation by talking about the need to accelerate our project delivery. Our funding is variable, and it looks like it could be variable into the future, and sometimes we don't have a long duration to plan and design a project, so we have to change. We've developed and shared with you our goals and objectives for the Accelerated Bridge Program. It's innovation, it's communication, it's technology, sort of the themes that have run through all of the presentations today, and I'll throw in flexibility as well. So you've kind of heard what has been accomplished so far with many of you folks helping along the way, and we're making progress, but I think that we feel like there's still other things that we can do, and there's a long way, and we'd really like you guys, your section